Hi.
Great.
So we have three.
Yeah,
Yep. So we can call the meeting to order.
I will call the meeting to order. Um, and let's go to our first item. Emily, this is the revised agenda, correct?
I'm sorry. I
I think the agenda was slightly revised today, just maybe the order. So does anyone have any objection for us covering Amos and Ginger LLC first?
Can we swap that because I think the other one is going to be a little bit quicker.
Okay, yes, that's what I was getting at. So let's go to Rachel Weber. Are you online?
Hi, my name's Greta Calabrese. I am the agent representing Rachel Weber here.
Great.
Great.
Okay, go ahead. We'll let you present.
Wonderful. So I don't know if it's helpful to take a look at the documents now, or I could just give you a brief overview so that you're aware. So I work for LOA Property Services, and
Uh-huh.
that is my connection with the client, Rachel. So
Okay.
Rachel has been working hard to figure out a way to efficiently heat and cool her home, which is in a very specific design district of the village at One More Place. It
Yeah,
butts Lings Farm and the river.
right,
Beautiful home. So you're seeing the north facade here. There's the west facade. So those would be the two facades that would face any sort of road. Very little of the houses view, you
right,
can't really see much of it at all from Old River Road.
right.
And they're at One More Place. More Place is a very short road. It's
Mhm.
her
Is it,
home.
it's a
So
private road, isn't it?
it is, yes.
Mhm.
So Rachel's been working hard to work with ARC Mechanical to figure out an efficient way to heat and cool the home. And they've gone to great lengths to figure out a nice way to add the compressors that will be needed for the mini splits throughout her home and some line hide. So where I've drawn these in orange, that you can see two compressors in two different sizes. The details of their sizes and what they look like are available below. That little corner of the house that you're taking a look at there
Mhm.
faces southeast. And
So
it's
the river.
That's correct. South, exactly. It faces the river, and you can see in this picture that that tree on the left is quite a large tree.
Mhm.
If you were rafting down the river, you would not be able to see these compressors. It is very kind of hidden away, tucked away in this corner that's blocked by a tree. So,
So
um,
as you're walking up river towards the Billings Farm,
yes,
one has a glimpse downward, and that facade is not being affected. It's the one facing the river.
that is correct.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so this is the back side of the house. It's kind of a little L-shaped corner that goes into
Okay.
the part of the house. Okay, so if we were trying to look at, thank you for pulling this side up. If we were trying to see where those compressors are going to be, they're behind that hidden behind this large tree, kind of in a corner over by
Mhm.
to the right of that large bump out window.
Right.
And so it's very they're well hidden, they're well placed, and then you can see here one bit of line hide that will go up the far left side of that facade. It will be all line hide, will be painted the exact same color as the home. The whole home is being repainted this summer, and so everything will be well camouflaged. The other facade would be the east-facing facade, which is a short end of the house facing the cottage next door, which also belongs to the same homeowner. And there would be some line hide there as well, following the seam of the home and also painted the exact same color as the clapboards.
Okay. There are comments from Larry or Bev?
So no, I had no questions or issues with the proposal.
No, I think it's fine also.
My question would be for the homeowner. and their contractor. Is it possible that in this view that we're looking at, the line could be gained with the gutter that's already obstructing the facade?
I see what you're saying, the gutter that's on the right-hand side.
Because the coins are a distinctive architectural feature, and this kind of retards them. If it was possible to throw it to the other side, I don't know, what it's doing inside, but if it's an issue of perhaps running some cabling inside a different way so that that exterior line kind of gets more concealed, that might appeal to me more.
Absolutely. My understanding is that it was decided that it would be on that left-hand side because of where the unit is going to be installed and the length of which, the proximity that line height needs to be coming into the wall for that. They did, how I drew it here makes it look obviously quite obvious. But it is just a 4-inch wide piece of line height. In fact, it could be even 3-inch depending on what they need for that specific. It'll be one vertical line and it will be to the right of that corner detail and it should not be obvious. I will say that. But
Is it wiring? That
if you scroll down, I can show you, I did have an example of what line height, okay, so here,
Yeah.
what line height looks like.
Yeah,
Here's an example of when it needs to make some right-hand turns.
yeah.
The line height that will be on that portion of the house, on that facade, will just be similar to the top part. If you scroll up just a little bit, it'll be it'll be one complete vertical line. And it will be, in this case, you see that it's not the same color as the house. At the Weber's, it will be exactly matched to the color of the house. And so that it will not, from the river, you shouldn't be able to notice it.
Right. Why, if the units are located where you showed them, why is there a line there at all on the far left side, south facade?
So the compressors are all very specifically in one place that's where the power will be located. And then this duct work that will be hidden by the line hides will lead it to different parts of the home where the mini splits are within the home, in these
Oh.
rooms inside. This is a very long house. It's very long and skinny. You look at this side and you're like, oh, okay, that's, a pretty short side of the house. If you look at the north or south facing, it is quite long. So they need to be able to run these ducts from to the different parts so that it's all getting the right amount of power and just installed accurately.
Right. I always wonder if they can be installed within the wall so that they're not looking like the plumbing in London.
In a perfect world, that would be exactly, and especially when we're trying to incorporate these newer systems with the older historic
Yeah.
homes, it does
Yeah.
become a challenge, but they have found ways. I mean, it will be the exact same color, so I think it will not distract the eye much at all.
I have a
Well, they're
question.
really not going to be visible other than to the occupants.
That's correct.
So, yeah, my only comment was really concerning the other side where, as I said, if it could be in the inner corner, that looks better to me.
Right.
Well, explain a little bit more about the interior. If the piping, it would be, all of that would go inside the house, and so you'd have the piping inside? Or is there a reason that you always do it outside?
Well, my understanding is that most walls aren't thick enough for this sort of, piping to go on the inside. It is customary for this sort of technology. There are these compressors on the outside, and the piping goes along the outside of the house to get into the specific rooms where these mini splits are going to be basically on the ceiling, and it's a great efficient way to heat and cool the house. And this is the source of where the air and the intake comes from, and it's the most efficient way to do so. And I don't know. I don't know that it is possible to hide it within a wall, but potentially that's something someone could do in the building process of a new home. But in a case like the Weber's home, it is not possible.
So come
for
from
this.
the heat, air will come from the ceiling.
So yes, it'll be, are you familiar with like a Mitsubishi, heat pump mini split? It's kind of, up in, I would say it's just below the ceiling typically is where it's mounted. And that's, so on the outside of the house, that intake goes into, through the wall and has the supply for that appliance. And,
I mean, alternatively, they can run it inside and box it like plumbing lines that get boxed, but we're not here to tell them how to do their job, but I mean, it could be concealed to the exterior. Uh, I don't know if I have further comments. Sounded like Larry didn't. Bev, are you okay?
Well, I think we need another 10 years before we see this kind of a thing installed that we're gonna like. So I think this is what we have to.
When we reviewed the house on River, it was a double house, if you recall, yellow, forget the number, tall 3-story, and they had a similar kind of installation. Theirs ran along their chimney, if you recall, and they had it kind of on the back side of the chimney projection, so it wasn't quite as apparent. Um, I think the saving grace here is that these are not public facades. Otherwise, I'd probably be a little more strict about some alternatives, but the only one I have really is whether you can ask the owner if on that south-facing facade, it can be at the other end, if it's just running cabling or lines to the rooms in there, does it matter which side it's on? So
My
that's my only comment.
My assumption is that given where the appliance is placed on the inside of the house, if that were to be the case, it would require a 90-degree turn in the line height. It could probably, follow that line of the rain gutter and then take a sharp left to get to that other corner.
Yeah, it probably just depends how many turns and bends you can do.
Yeah,
You'll have the efficiency. Yeah.
right.
Well, I think when it's painted, it'll certainly be less obvious. You've done
Yeah.
it with the line and
Yep,
it's,
agreed.
Yes.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I'll motion that we accept the piping, line art, whatever it's called,
Fine.
on this project.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it passes. Let's go to the next item.
Thank you so much. Would it be okay for me to just ask one question?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I just want to be clear, this is approval of the whole project, the condensers and the line height installation?
Yeah, are they intending to put any kind of screening around the condensers or? I mean,
That is not part of the plan yet. There is a good amount of foliage and landscaping back there so that it's not very visible, but they did not plan to put up any kind of, trellis or lattice or anything
Okay.
like that.
again, I think since it's not in a public view, I'm
Yes.
less concerned about that. If it was a public view, that might be another story.
Okay.
Thank you.
So much. I appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Greta.
Thank you.
Okay. This is concerning that buried tank, right?
Yes,
Part of that is what we were looking at, though, was really some of the changes in the back.
correct.
Okay,
So I'm Doug Sensala with Studio Nexus Architects, and also in attendance at the meeting is Mike Purvis, the project architect, Eliza Laffin, the owner, and Jeff Ingram with Ingram Construction, the construction manager. So we have our whole team here today. And would you like me to recap sort of where we were, or just go into the last part of what changed since we last met?
I'm aware of where we were, but I don't know who all was on the call, so let's get you to review what, I think it was Mr. Purvis presented, right?
I think I did it last time,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah,
Good.
Mr. Purvis presented to the village trustees, I believe, and I've been presenting to this group. So
Okay.
the overview, if we go back to the narrative, the description of work, we've been trying to get a restaurant and retail space in the building, and it requires a significant amount of code upgrades,
Mhm.
which entails some life safety measures for electrical. So we have to move the electrical panels from the inside. They're currently in the basement to the outside. We have to put egress balconies on for the residential units on the top floor, which you see there. Initially, we had to put ladders on those to satisfy the insurance company. We'll get into that. And then we need to provide a hood. So you see the ductwork on the left side there, that's for the hood. And on the right side, we need makeup air to supplement that when it's taken out. That's really, really high level. And then in order to provide accessibility, we need to provide a ramp. And there's no room in the front of the building, obviously, because that's
Right.
all public sidewalk. So
Right.
we've got 6 feet of room, barely enough to get back in here and get something in. Half of the ramp is outside and the other half is inside the building because we don't have enough room outside. And then we've gone to the village trustees and acquired an easement to provide a buried propane tank. It does not take any more parking spaces. It takes an existing spot that's not underutilized, and then it creates a little landscape pocket around that where the fill tank is, which you see in the image there. So it shifts the two parking spaces to the right and creates that little island. So that's kind of the overview. And then the comments from the last time, I believe we had a slightly different design, and I'll get into some of that. On the May 7th meeting, we met with our client after that meeting and had a discussion about the comments, and we made some improvements to the back to update the appearance from that meeting. And those included a couple things in response to the comment that the ramp would quote unquote be a hazard in winter and the material would deteriorate, unquote. And our response to that is that pressure treated wood is used extensively in Vermont and in New England, and it has a life expectancy of 30 to 40 years. It's also a cost-effective solution, and we're proposing from the last meeting, we're adding anti-slip pads to that, and that's in the packet. Those are metal pads that get screwed onto the wood, and they have a abrasive surface on them to reduce the potential for slipping. And in addition, the owner will be maintaining that walkway. Yeah, those are the slip pads, anti-slip pads. And then we've changed the handrails out from the wooden system to an aluminum system that's black, reminiscent of the kind of ironwork that you would see on an older building like this. And that's in the next, I think there's a little photo of that further down in the packet. So we've done the railings slightly differently than we originally proposed. And then the second part of this was quote unquote from the board, the primary solution raised was to shield or otherwise camouflage equipment behind the building, unquote. And we had worked with the insurance company to ensure them that the balconies that you see on the second floor would no longer require the ladders. We work with them with the understanding that the fire truck would be able to get access and remove people from those floors, and that the proximity of this building to the fire department is such that they would have a very quick response time. So they would be able to get outside and get out of the smoke, which is the thing that would be the lethal aspect of fire, and be able to get fresh air. So we've gotten rid of the ladders, and then the heat pump condensers that were previously shown in the last round. We worked with our engineers and relocated those up onto the rooftop to get rid of that from the back as well. And then we also we're proposing to take the electric meters, and before they're installed, we would paint those the same color as the brick, like we did with the duct enclosures. So everything back there would be similar in appearance to the brick colors. So we'd really want to try to camouflage that the best we can. And then everything else stayed essentially the same. And we feel that these measures kind of meet the board's intent of reducing the visual impacts while maintaining the functionality and the visual ability for people to actually see the ramp. We feel like it's important for them to know that there is a ramp back there and that they can access it for the business and also for deliveries. So there will be right where the door is, there will be a gate, so that will open for deliveries as well, so they can step on, kind of like a loading dock. That upper level will act as a platform for deliveries as well. So that's kind of the presentation, unless Eliza or anyone else in the group wants to add anything to that from our team.
Bill, I have a question. If I look at this ramp, there are parking places in front of it, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So if I'm in a wheelchair, is there enough room over near where you have your lilies, et cetera, to be able to access that ramp? I mean, you need about 30 inches for the wheelchair?
Yeah, so a person in a wheelchair would need to go around behind it and then up the ramp. So there's a trash enclosure fence, and behind that is where you'd go up the ramp.
There's room, there's good 30 inches there?
Yes, yeah, and I think if you look at the floor plan, we have
46.
about 5 feet at the bottom, actually. So yeah, if you zoom in to the lower plan there, or just point to the lower plan right at the bottom of the ramp, there's a little striped area. You can see a little crosshatch.
No.
Yeah, but
Um,
someone has to go through the parking lot in their wheelchair to get there. That's not very accessible.
If I'm in a car and I have to get out,
Right.
I don't,
Well, the handicap spot must be next to, let's see,
can somebody,
guess the lower gray box, or those are 3 spots, is that right? Or, yeah.
there's 2 spots,
Oh,
and then the island.
which has what in it?
The island is what has the tank buried in it.
I see. So you cannot park over that.
Correct.
but you could run a wheelchair with a couple 100 pounds in it?
Right.
I mean, I like the aesthetics of the greenery, but I
Mhm.
a question about how you maneuver that.
So behind the fence, there's a space between the building and that fence. I think that it's a little hard to see in that view. That there would be a pathway up there up into the ramp.
Behind right there. Yeah. Do you think that's wide enough?
Yeah, it's 5 feet wide back there. So
Really?
it's, yeah, the distance from the building to that fence is about 5 feet. And that's a requirement for the accessible code. There has to be a 5-foot landing.
Then that would work.
Yeah, so there's a landing at the top that's 5 feet by 5 feet, and at the bottom of it that's 5 feet by 5 feet. it's hard to tell in the perspective because you can't tell the distance there.
Yeah, I just don't like that the person in the wheelchair has to go into the parking lot, essentially behind the cars, to get to this unless the parking spots are pulled 3 or 4 feet off the fence there. And I don't know that they can do that given the tightness back there.
Yeah, we're sort of dealing with the cards we're dealt. We have 6 feet of space only with to the property line, so it's the best we can do with the space we're given,
Yep.
unfortunately,
The other
without
thing I asked for, and
altering the public parking. Yeah, but
I realize now my colleagues were not at the we're not. Can you send Ellen a link, Emily? She's available now. She was present last time, and Jack was, and myself. The other thing we requested rather strongly, I think, was coverage of the ramp for inclement weather and so forth. Did you look at that?
yeah, we did look at that, and we ended up having the contractor price that out, and it looked like that would be about $20,000 to do some sort of roof onto this back entrance. And we looked in the code, and it's not required to be covered, and I don't believe there's any zoning that requires it either, to my knowledge.
David Green was okay with the ramp not being covered. He is.
Yeah, this was submitted to the state fire marshal as well, and
I
they
see.
did not have a comment about that.
I think the other point was that the entire apparatus, the ramp, the electrical, ductwork, everything would be concealed with some kind of screen or mesh that would read as almost a building extension rather than these appendages that are just painted and don't really disappear. Yeah, I'm sorry Ellen's not on the line because she was, I think, along with Jack at that discussion.
Yeah,
She's there.
he just joined.
Yeah, I was mentioning, Ellen, that the revised design is still doesn't seem to have incorporated enough of what we had requested, which was a metal walkway. He's saying it's just going to be treated wood with these kind of metal applied grips. And they checked into the roofing, but they got a quote of $20,000. As I recollect, we had asked for some kind of screening of the entire kind of extension there. I'm not sure what you recall from the meeting. Of course, we had minutes, but I think you're muted.
Can you hear her?
No. You're still muted. Try the little blue box.
Okay, now is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, yes, I did. I remember, I recall this and I remember saying that.
Bev, do you have any kind, you didn't get to see this last time you were away.
Hi. First meeting I've attended in quite a while.
Mhm. Yeah, we had asked to kind of, because this is such prominence, I mean, it's right opposite the visitor center and all. We had thought that screen of some sort that actually goes probably full height and then is roofed would provide a few things. One, some visual organization, better visual organization, and covers the walk in the rain and snow and so forth. So that's, think where that was left, the actual escape porches and all. I mean, I don't think we had any strong comments on that, and what you're showing seems to work well enough. The other issue, Bev, was that the ductwork has to rise above the building by code now, unlike before where they had that kind of centrifugal fan just out the back wall. So given that it's rising up the back wall rather than being just exposed galvanized metal, yeah, what kind of finish is going to be on that? Is it like a epoxy or what? The ductwork, is it color is?
Jeff, would you know what type of enclosure the outside ductwork might be able to have? Well, what that material might be?
Per se, but it would be an exterior rated industrial coating. A paint.
Custom colored to match the brick.
Yeah. Yeah, so my understanding was that the last time we met that we were trying to screen the utilities. So that's what we're trying to do, is get rid of the utilities rather than screen them. So we moved the 2 heat pumps completely off the building, and then we were trying to leave the electric meters but have them blend in as much as we could. I mean, if we look at the other buildings back there, they all have their utilities visible. The building adjacent to it has visible heat pumps. There's a lot of mechanical pieces back there that are highly visible. So
But
it
this
just seems,
building, yeah, but this building projects that elevation is, I don't know how many feet. Do you have some more photos of the back there you can share?
just, well, Eliza might, but we just have that one that you see there.
Bill, I have a comment about the coverage you wanted over the ramp. I think it would have caused more attention to that area. And so I mean, it would be nice so you didn't have rain and snow falling on you, but I think it would have been more dominant than it is now. And the other, I just am coming too late on it to have a feeling, and it's hard to see where some of these things would be. The whole back of the building, I've always thought we needed to shorten the parking spaces, dig up part of the pavement and have some greenery there or something, but can't do that because it's not a.
Yeah.
Well, he is showing some greenery being introduced, right?
Yes, correct.
No.
This Watson and I own the building directly beside 33. I saw the building, there's no details there as far as my building is concerned as to windows, but I have 2 windows and a door on that building, which is not even shown. The way this is at this point, if the garbage containers are going to be where they are as per, they're going to sit directly in back of my windows. I have a problem with that. And I also don't understand how you're going to get a pathway between that the boarding or the trash. Is it going to be a dumpster? Is it going to be containers? What's it going to be? And how is all of that going to maneuver for disposal? As it is right now, the very corner of that building, there's a little, my building sets back slightly, but all of that looks like it's going to be consumed by this project, which is a definite infringement upon my property values and my view that I have to look at every day.
I'm sorry, who is speaking right now?
Chris Watson, I'm the owner of the building next door.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
as I see on the form C2, if you notice, my building lines,
Mhm.
I guess it's granite curbing that goes around the thing. I don't even know if I can get in my back door.
Well, we don't have a plan, do we?
Yeah.
Yes, they had plans. It's not extensive, but it is of their building. Emily,
What-
can you scroll to the plan view? Thank you.
So what about an on-site visit? Because we can't see what Idris is talking about. and-
This doesn't give enough of a plan into the parking lot.
Yeah, it
Is
doesn't.
there another drawing perhaps, Doug?
Yeah,
There.
this one shows the adjacent building
Right,
and the
Right,
space there.
right.
Yep.
So
And there's a blow up
go
of
to
it
that.
right
I
there.
think what she was referring to was the building, the parking spot to the left of the island. Is that right?
Well, it involves the trash that comes over from the building into my back side. And also, if you can, may I point? Then
Where is your trash currently located?
it's going to be at the end of their building,
Uh-huh. Is that
and into the back of my building.
Got it. Yeah,
And
yeah, go ahead.
And when you look at the drawing, there's my little building. And then all of the stuff comes all the way up to here. That leaves my back door barely. Barely.
That line is showing, the area that's going to be affected when the propane tank is installed. And once the propane tank is installed, it'll be paved over, and the only thing that's going to, be there is that curb line. The rest of it will be completely repaved and the, parking spaces reintroduced.
We're gonna take a major part like that. There's no question about that. And the garbage, is it going to be a dumpster? Is it going to be bins? How many bins?
I'm having a trash conundrum with this because we all have the same problem. What am I gonna do with the trash for the restaurant? I've been talking to the business owners on the other side, because there's a lot of space back there. I wanna approach Kim and ask her if there's a way to either get a bigger dumpster and split the cost, or another dumpster back there, because you're right, I have a big problem with it as well.
Yeah, the current plan shows it with totes, like the plastic tote kind of enclosures. So one would be trash and one was recycling, is how we envisioned this one.
Whichever it is, I don't wanna look at it from my back windows.
Neither do I. I want it to be somewhere else. Absolutely.
Well, that's why the screening would help that we.
Yeah, it would be enclosed with screen, the screen wall.
A little more drawing to see what it would look like. It's hard to tell what
It
it's
is
gonna
hard to
look
see.
like, what it's gonna look like right now, from like the back of her window, like that, yeah.
So,
I don't at all.
Has everyone done a site visit here? All
Yes.
of you done a site visit to see exactly what the space is like?
yeah,
You all have,
I have not. And that's,
have all of you people done site visits?
yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's a restaurant that's off to the right of this plan.
Mhm.
And so they'll be looking at this as well.
Right.
And
And
I
they have
think-
outdoor dining.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying that the restaurant you're referring to, Ellen, has outdoor dining.
Right, well, it's outside, yeah, it's just. Yeah,
Both indoor and outdoor, but to your point about looking at it. I'm just noticing now, I didn't see it before. Does the submerged tank then straddle both properties? And why would that be, that it wouldn't be entirely on the applicant's property?
None of it's on the applicant's property. It's actually it's an easement from the town.
I see.
Yeah.
The in back of my building.
Yeah, is there any reason for the slippage between, you know, where that ends up? You know, there's probably about maybe.
So
5 feet.
if you were, we could move that one space to the right. That island could move one space so it's directly behind that building, if that's what you mean. But then we kind of have to go back to the village trustees. But we could do something like that if that were the case.
Now.
Well, I'm wondering if that addresses the abutter's concern, because then you're kind of, whatever she's doing now, she could keep doing, and your island, your unpaid, well, yeah, that's.
I just want to clarify they
The thing is, we can't get too close to the intersection because there's another water line that comes in off of the alley. You can see it in this
Yes.
image labeled.
6-inch diameter, yeah.
Yeah, so originally we had it right adjacent to the crosswalk, but then we moved it this way because we wanted to be away from that. So when we're digging, we have to be away from that. So this is the best location. I'm not sure we can move it one space, but we could look into doing
I
that.
see. I see.
And I think that was part of the determination from the trustees, right, Doug?
Yeah,
This location was approved by the trustees. That's
Correct.
why-
Yeah, correct. And you can see there's a note saying we're 18 feet away from the line there, and that's kind of what it is. If we start to get closer, I don't think that's preferred. But could we get rid of the enclosure and find some other solution for the trash and recycling? That certainly would be a possibility, so there's not that issue.
Mhm.
If Eliza could work with some other neighbors back there, I'm sure we could figure something out.
Yeah, I think that's necessary. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Currently, they're just sort of placed up against the building, which is,
To have the maintenance of the island.
I will.
yeah, Eliza will have an easement on that, so she would be on the hook for that.
My insurance company needs to know how far away from my building the tank will be.
So it's 10 feet from Eliza's building, and I think yours is another, looks like about 4 or 5 feet, so it's about 14 feet, I would say.
Mhm.
We can give you an exact number, though.
It's 16 feet to the back of Eliza's building.
Hmm.
10 feet to the back of the property line and the additional 6 feet to the back.
Yeah, plus 6, so it'd be like 16 to the back of her building, plus whatever yours is set back.
Well, I think we really need to know if there is access to the back door of Idris's store and what it looks like from interior looking out.
Yeah, I agree, totally.
I couldn't vote on this at this point and
Yeah,
done that.
I agree.
Has everyone done a site visit?
Yes, we could do another one. I mean, we've done it independently.
To request a site visit with all of this taped out so you can actually see it in real life.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think
Yeah.
it's fair.
We've certainly done those kind of things before.
Yeah.
Too important not to have that totally looked at.
I agree.
I think you're right. Could we,
And that we can make,
um,
in the meantime, we're just on hold for this entire project.
And the hearing is supposed to be Wednesday night, so if we could tomorrow or Wednesday, anytime. What do y'all schedule look like?
I can do tomorrow afternoon, I can do tomorrow,
Tomorrow?
in fact, morning or afternoon,
What about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon?
so that would be Ellen and me. Larry, could you come?
I can't make it at 2. I'll be helping out at the school till
And
4.
I don't, 3 of y'all can come because then there would be a quorum. We have to warn meetings in advance. This is just occurring to me.
How about the week of the 23rd? That will give you a week to warn it.
I think it's 48 hours.
Oh, okay.
What about Wednesday before the hearings at 5:30? Do you have availability then?
I can make that.
I could do Wednesday at 3.
I can do that.
Can everyone do Wednesday at 3?
Yeah.
Okay,
To meet behind the building at 3 o'clock Wednesday.
Idris, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Wonderful.
So would we still go to the meeting then on Wednesday at 5:30 after that meeting, or what would be the process?
I guess they would determine at the site visit or gonna want more time to talk afterward.
Okay.
I think it'd be pretty clear once you see it.
Probably will be.
So let's keeping Wednesday night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill, should we take pictures and forward them to you?
I think so. Yeah. If someone has a camera, I'm happy to try to join that way.
Do you have an iPhone? I could FaceTime you.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
Right.
Thank you. I'm sorry I won't be there this week.
I guess we're completed then?
Yeah.
Minutes to look at.
Oh,
Right. Okay, thank you to
Thank
the applicants. We'll see you Thursday or
Thank
Wednesday.
you.
Wednesday.
Wednesday at 3. Okay.
They're gonna vote on minutes quickly, but.
Yeah, let's see. We actually have this item on the past agenda, right?
yeah, they've given it in the pamphlet here.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
We have the minutes on the last page of what we were given today, and it describes all the things that we talked about today. What you had said, Ellen. If we
Right.
lost it. Oh, no, there she is. So I propose that we approve the minutes as written.
Yeah, I second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then I think we're done meeting and yeah, I have FaceTime, so anyone wants to call me, otherwise I'll work with your opinions.
Okay,
Larry, will you be able to make it?
he said at 3 o'clock he could.
Because-
Yes. Yeah, I can make that.
And Ellen and Beth,
Yes.
Yeah.
so there will be a form, okay. I'll get that out tonight. Then,
Yeah, it's a very tricky site, and I am concerned that it's a candy cutter solution when it calls for a little bit of ELC. I don't know.
Yeah, it needs some design, I think.
I can't believe a roof costs $20,000. That's what he said before you joined us.
Wow.
I mean, you could just put a metal corrugated thing. Yeah, that sounds like a snow job.
Yeah.
But this ramp situation is something that we've had to deal with once before, remember, coming in the rear of all those shops where Gillingham is
Yeah,
in the back. We did that once, and you know, most of these shops are not handicap accessible.
no. This and the first one really point to the need for design guidelines that
Yeah.
would have a default in all these cases, which isn't to say that there wouldn't be special, but I think it's very wrong to have wooden ramps in our central business district. I just they don't last 30 years. That's what he said before you joined, Alan.
So, I mean, in other words, it's $20,000 to put up.
Roof. That's what he said.
Sorry, say again?
To put a roof over. My original request of them, you may recall, Ellen, was to
Yeah.
screen the entire thing.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding what Bev said, I'm sure, again, if we had Photoshop or some ways of looking at it, we could, maybe on site, you'll see exactly what she's saying. Maybe that's not the right solution, but that's what I had sort of given him as homework, if you recall.
Mhm.
Kind of screen the whole thing and then just have the entrance at the end with the signage, and who knows what's happening behind it until you have to make your way up the ramp or whatever. But then he came back this morning or this afternoon and indicated that the roof was 20,000, so they weren't doing that. And they changed the wood handrail, which I never realized it was a wood one, to a metal one, which should be really fun in the winter, gripping that. But that aside, and then they're painting out the electrical on the back of the building to the color of the ductwork.
Yeah, I don't know why that's so, because I think that is kind of actually worse than painting it another color. I mean, just something that would make it designed as opposed to something that is trying to be invisible, but it's not. So why even go there? And the other thing is that doesn't take care of the problem for the
Yeah.
adjacent business.
This is the first we heard of that because I think she must have gotten wind.
Yeah.
My very first thing when we got this was I went to David Green and I said, "You're not allowing an underground tank in that parking lot, are you?" And he said it's perfectly within code, and the only other alternative was to put the tank on the roof. And part of me sort of thought, well, okay, you can screen that easily enough. But I would think it's highly dangerous to have the tank underground, and particularly, with cars nearby.
I think that, given the fact that there's that.
And the reason they need the tank is because the type of restaurant they're putting in there requires, what do you call it? The
Pizza
propane. Propane.
Oh,
They can't, the current gas line doesn't provide sufficient capacity for the pizza ovens.
I think that the city should pay for a designer to look at that whole area, because there's a restaurant on one side, there's the welcome center behind, and that.
There's 1, 2, 3 home, they put the back door in there.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think it needs to be designed, and I think it needs to be recognized as another facade.
Public.
agree. It's an ugly mess back there, and
Yeah.
it should be kind of welcoming. It should be attractive.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
How do we get that done?
Well,
Well, you're not gonna get it done on their time schedule. Well, I mean, we could end up saying that at the end of Wednesday, and that's what goes to the development board.
yeah, why not?
And the other thing is, and again, I can't, but I didn't tell them to put pizza in there. Maybe if it was a less intensive heating that was needed. I don't know.
Yeah,
We're certainly in need of places for people to eat.
Yes,
They
yes,
put food trucks all over the place, which I don't think is, personally, I don't think is a great idea. So I hate to discourage somebody who's
Right.
trying
right.
another. I mean,
Apparently the story was that the creamery, because of the kind of cooking they did, there wasn't the need for that kind of supply of gas.
right. Right.
And plus it was probably woefully out of date. I'm just really surprised that the state fire marshal in a wealthy community like ours that can afford to cover the walks doesn't, but you know, you look at the library,
Yeah,
that handicap ramp going up to it. Now there you might argue it's a historic building and so on. But this is a new construction.
yeah, I think the thing is that it's got to be recognized that that back is not a back anymore.
Right.
That's the big issue.
And that's why Bev was saying, you know, her gut reaction was, I'm not sure building up this thing is helpful. I'm not either.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
I would have liked to have seen 2 or 3 designs and the architect to say, I recommend this one. I mean, that's what a quality design firm does.
Mhm,
They
mhm.
show you cartoon style what they, you know, ignored or rejected and why they are promoting the design they are.
is
But I
this
think at
a,
this point, it's a means to an end because they want to get the place going.
that it's doing this, or it is a design, engineered design plan? I mean,
Who's doing it?
yeah, the people that are doing,
I don't know. I suppose it's, you know, a design team the owner's contractor has put together.
you know, we've had a lot of stuff about the back of that building. There was gonna be a hot yoga place down at the end at one point. So I think the time has come, we've got to either approach the trustees or somebody that this has to be thought out. It's a very visible part. I mean, if it's awnings or something to connect the shops, something, and
Is-
pot.
What's happening at the meeting at 5 or 5:30?
I think
That's the development meeting, and that's the thing we have to be careful about because the development board has ignored us many times. So, you know, I think if we have objections and suggestions, we really got to stick to those 1 through 11 items in the zoning regulations because anything outside of that, they're going to completely ignore.
or it'll sidetrack them.
Yeah,
Do you want to forward to us when we hang up those 11 items again? It might be a good way to frame the meeting on,
yeah, that's a good
Wednesday.
idea. Yes, I could do that.
Thanks. And that's really wise because then if they go to the meeting right at that point, we've already categorized in the proper language the pluses and minuses of the design.
Exactly.
A good idea, because
Yep.
that is how it's defeated.
How are you doing, Bev?
Charlie's getting better.
Oh,
I
good.
don't be nervous he's gonna come home and I'll have full-time help and cook all the meals. He's rather we're both very pleased with Merton's house.
That's
It's
so
very-
nice. That
It's
should
amazing.
be the worst thing that happens.
It could be the worst thing that happens. It depends which side you're on there. But he's doing well and he likes it. He's really doing quite well.
Well-
Surprised, 94, I mean, who would think that he
Yeah,
go surgeries and all of this and
well, that certainly speaks well for the care he's receiving.
pardon?
It certainly speaks well for the care that he received.
The attention.
Yeah, the attention. But
So,
don't we all want that?
anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay, well, I'll see you all online Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
Okay.
you for coming.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
thank you, Emily.
Thank you.